Today, we're going to break down one of the most powerful Atlantic hurricanes ever recorded, Hurricane Melissa. Now, this storm didn't just cause a bit of damage, it literally put an entire nation on high alert and left this incredible trail of devastation. So what made this superstorm so uniquely powerful? Well, let's dig in. I mean, this quote really says it all. This is the stark reality laid out by Jamaica's Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, right as the storm was hitting. It's not a question of if there's going to be damage, but just how catastrophic it will be. It's a really chilling admission of just how vulnerable you are in the face of nature's raw power. And the force behind that warning? A staggering 185 miles per hour. That was the sustained wind speed when Melissa slammed ashore. To put that into perspective, that is faster than a high-speed bullet train. So we're not just talking about a storm here. This is an almost unimaginable force of nature. So first up, let's look at the immediate impact. As Melissa made landfall, people were just describing it as an unstoppable force. The first nation to feel its full wrath was Jamaica. And the consequences? Well, they were immediate and they were widespread. The immediate aftermath was just a portrait of a country brought to its knees. Now, while at least 3 deaths were confirmed pretty early on, so many areas were still completely unreachable. Look at this. Power was knocked out for 540,000 customers. That's over 3/4 of the entire island just plunged into darkness. You've got 15,000 people forced into shelters, and even major hospitals, the places you're supposed to be safe, were damaged so badly they had to be evacuated. This is a picture of a country's most essential services being completely and totally overwhelmed. So, that's the devastation. But how does a storm like this even happen? What were the ingredients that created what meteorologists are calling a beast? All right, let's get into the science behind this thing. Okay, the key to understanding this whole thing comes down to a phenomenon called extreme rapid intensification. This isn't just a storm getting a little stronger over a few days. No. This is a storm hitting the accelerator, basically transforming from a serious threat into an absolute monster in an incredibly short amount of time. Just look at this jump, an increase of 70 miles per hour in only 24 hours. Think about that. That's like a storm going from a pretty standard Category 1 to a powerhouse Category 4, basically overnight. That is the explosive, unpredictable growth we're talking about with Melissa, and it's what caught so many people completely by surprise. And to really get how rare this is, you have to look at the history books. Melissa didn't just break records, it tied the all-time record for the strongest Atlantic hurricane at landfall. This puts it in the same league as the infamous 1935 Labor Day hurricane. We are truly looking at a historic, once-in-a-generation kind of weather event here. You know, even the experts, the people who study these things for a living, were just stunned when a seasoned hurricane researcher like Phil Klotzbach calls it a beast of a storm. You know you're witnessing something extraordinary. That's not just scientific jargon. That's genuine awe at the power of this thing. But the story doesn't end in Jamaica. After battering one island, this beast of a storm set its sights north, straight for Cuba. And unlike the surprise of its rapid intensification, this time people knew exactly what was coming their way. And that knowledge led to this staggering number. Over 735,000 people were evacuated. And this wasn't just a recommendation. This was a massive, organized effort to move entire communities out of harm's way, especially from those really vulnerable coastal and mountain regions. The sheer scale of this preparation is just immense. And behind those massive numbers, of course, are individual human stories. This quote from Diamond Mendoza, a resident just waiting for the storm, it really captures that profound sense of dread. It's such a powerful reminder that for every single statistic, there are families facing the terrifying reality of what's about to hit them. And you know, this storm's reach extends far beyond the Caribbean. With all the communication lines down, a wave of anxiety just ripples through the Jamaican diaspora all around the world. For families in the UK and the US, that silence is just agonizing as they wait for days, hoping for any news from their loved ones. So this all brings us to a really crucial question. Was Hurricane Melissa just some freak event, a one-off, or is it a sign of a disturbing new pattern? To answer that, we really need to connect this single storm to the bigger global picture. So what was the secret ingredient? Well, here it is. The ocean water that fueled Melissa was 2 degrees Celsius warmer than average. Now, that might not sound like much, but in oceanography, that is a massive heat anomaly. It's the energy source, the battery pack, that allows a storm to intensify so explosively. This is really the perfect way to think about it. That superheated water acts like high-octane fuel, so when a storm passes over it, it's not just getting energy, it's getting a supercharged boost. And scientists say this makes the kind of rapid intensification we saw with Melissa somewhere between 500 to 700 times more likely. It's unbelievable. Now, let's step back for a second and look at the trend. This number is critical, 13. That is the number of Category 5 storms that have formed in the Atlantic Basin just since 2016. And here's why that number, 13, is so incredibly significant. It is more than in any other decade on record. This isn't a blip. It's an accelerating trend of more frequent, high-end, catastrophic storms forming in the Atlantic. Which, of course, brings us to our final lingering question. We've seen the devastation, we've understood the science, and we've recognized the pattern. So we have to ask ourselves, are we entering a new era where storms like Melissa are no longer the rare exception, but are becoming the rule? That's the really big question the storm leaves in its wake.